So as 2023 comes to a close for Nintendo Switch and all of its game releases, we now shift our eyes and focus to what Nintendo has around the corner coming down the pipeline in 2024. And in today's video, I want to walk through every major Nintendo Switch game that is on the roadmap currently, and also talk about the ones that are very likely to show up. While not confirmed from Nintendo themselves yet, there is a high probability that some of the games we will be discussing in the possibilities section of this video will indeed come to fruition in 2024 or beyond. And before we get started, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And first on our list in January in official game releases that we do know to expect in 2024 is none other than Another Code Recollection. This is a remaster of two classic DS and Wii era games, and they are heavily story driven with some puzzle solving involved. Games that I have not personally played, but it is the big January Nintendo first party published release, and you can now pick up a eShop demo completely for free. So if you're like me and you haven't played these games before deciding to commit to it, you can actually hop into a demo that is available on the eShop right now, which I love to see. This is out January 19th, 2024, and unless Nintendo announces something else for January, that is the only first party published Nintendo title that we should expect that month. Now in February, which is a month that is very likely to see a Nintendo Direct where we may get some of the announcements we are going to be talking about after the official roadmap, we have Mario vs. Donkey Kong out on February 16th. This is a remake of the Game Boy Advance game, and as someone who has never checked out the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series, I'm actually excited for this to release. From what I can tell in this game, it's kind of a strategy platformer. You're going to plan out your path and then get clever on ways to progress through to find the key to unlock the door each time. It's very simple in its concept, but the visuals do look very nice considering this is essentially a reboot slash remake from the GBA, and we don't have to wait too much longer as that is the February Nintendo published game. March 22nd is Princess Peach Showtime. Now this game actually popped up more on my radar following the most recent trailer because it looks like Nintendo's getting really creative with this one. Peach of course has various different costumes, but they're not just costumes. They actually change how she interacts and plays throughout the stages, where if you're the sword fighter Peach, you're running and dashing and doing quick swings with a sword. You're also potentially a detective Peach and a karate style Peach. And you know what's cool about this game is the aesthetic that they committed to is kind of like it is a on-stage performance, so you see various different things suggesting that you're essentially in a play in front of like a live audience or something like that. And it's cool to see Princess Peach get her own game where she is the star, not Mario. That is out in March of 2024. Now from there, we have two officially confirmed games that don't currently have release dates, which first is Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, previously known as Dark Moon. They just ditched that and went with Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. I just hope that we get Luigi's Mansion 1 also ported over at some point, because they're kind of working backwards here on the Nintendo Switch. Of course, Luigi's Mansion 1 was ported to the 3DS, but we currently don't have it playable on Nintendo Switch, and we may not unless if they do GameCube Nintendo Switch Online on the next gen hardware, which we will also be talking about in this video. But this game looks great. They definitely did a lot to actually not just upscale the textures, but redo a lot of the textures. You can look at side-by-side footage and see a lot more intricacies in the visual quality. So they didn't just simply up-res it, they put in extra work to it, and I'm excited to play through this on the Nintendo Switch at some point next year. The release date is to be determined. Also a release date that is to be determined is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. This is arguably the best Paper Mario game ever. Maybe the best Mario RPG game ever. This is a big deal to get a remaster. We had heard rumors and reports that this was in the pipeline, and indeed it was. There was some thought that maybe this would come out late in 2024, and it definitely still could because Nintendo is known for sitting on games, but it's likely already done as or close to because it's been rated by the ESRB at this point. And if I'm a betting man, we learned the exact launch date of this game at the February Nintendo Direct that we should hopefully be able to expect. And I would also expect it to maybe be like a May or June time game, if not later into the year. But who knows, Nintendo could throw a curveball and it might even be the April game. But that is all we have to look forward to in terms of official releases. In terms of likely releases for 2024, that's where things get a little bit more exciting. And we have to first kick it off with a game that we do know is confirmed to be in existence, and it's none other than Metroid Prime 4. Now, clearly, we've known this game has been a project since 2017. It got rebooted in 2019, and I think that at the February Nintendo Direct, we have a high likelihood of getting Prime 2 and 3 remaster, potentially potentially shadow dropped as a bundle pack, and hopefully, if we are very lucky, we may indeed see the big gameplay reveal for Metroid Prime 4, or at least an in-engine look at what this game looks like. And I do think that a late holiday time window, 2024, would make the most sense for this game to release. There's a lot of debate and talk online on whether or not this will come out on just the Nintendo Switch, or if it will be a cross-gen release with Nintendo's next generation hardware that I am also expecting to drop in 2024, and that's where I think it will land. I think it will be that cross-gen title. It will still come out on the Switch, but it will also have an enhanced version visually on the Nintendo Switch, maybe something like 4K docked via DLSS upres with 60 frames per second. And you know that what Retro Studios can do from a visual fidelity standpoint is already head and shoulders of so many different Nintendo studios. I mean, just look at Metroid Prime 1 Remastered. It's honestly maybe one of the best looking games, if not the best looking, on the Nintendo Switch, in my honest opinion. And I think there's no reason to expect anything less for Metroid Prime 4, and 2024 is the year that makes the most sense to me. When you talk about completely unannounced games, that's where it gets even more exciting, because we have two massive franchises that I do think are well overdue for their mainline entries, starting with Donkey Kong, because we recently had the news that the Nintendo World theme park in Japan will be getting the Donkey Kong expansion opened in early 2024. I think it makes a ton of sense for Nintendo to cross-promote that big expansion, and potentially, as we talk about things like a Super Mario Bros. Movie 2, Donkey Kong may even play a bigger role within that story, and maybe DK gets his own movie one day from Nintendo. But I think that they start to pump up this name and franchise once again in a big way. It's technically been since 2014 since we've seen anything fresh in terms of a mainline Donkey Kong game, so that means that Nintendo will have waited 10 years to give DK a big new installment of his own. And since the theme park is opening up and he's more of a household name with the movie and everything, I think that 2024 is the year we will get something Donkey Kong. The jury is still out on whether or not it will be a 2D, 2.5D style platforming game similar to Tropical Freeze, or if we might be talking about Donkey Kong going to 3D for the first time since the N64, or maybe even something of a mix of the two, like a Kirby in the Forgotten Land style of gameplay, but with DK involved. I think that DK's future is very bright, and I'm hopeful that in 2024 we can experience what Nintendo has in store for that franchise. Mario has been getting a ton of love with new games like Mario Bros. Wonder, in addition to ports and remasters of classic Mario titles like Super Mario RPG, and we just talked about Thousand Year Door coming out in 2024, Luigi's Mansion HD 2, and Princess Peach Showtime. They're all Mario Universe games, but one thing we haven't seen since 2017 is a brand new mainline entry in the Mario franchise, and I do think that 2024 is the time to launch that. There are also outstanding rumors that when Nintendo launches their next generation hardware, it will launch with a new mainline 3D Mario game, and I tend to believe this because Nintendo likes to launch the hardware with a must-buy title, and they've obviously skipped the window of Tears of the Kingdom, launching it alongside of that game, and they like to launch new hardware with either Mario or Zelda. Well, since Zelda's out of the conversation, Mario does make a ton of sense. One thing that they could pivot and do is the new Mario Kart instead of a new 3D Mario and release it later into the console's life cycle. That's definitely on the table as well. And I do think that there's somewhat of a likelihood that we will get a new Mario Kart game in 2024, although my money's still more on 3D Mario than Mario Kart first. I think the new Mario Kart will come out a year or two into Nintendo's next generation, and it will no doubt be a juggernaut when it comes to sales numbers yet again. While we may not be able to expect the next mainline Zelda game anytime soon, probably for 5 or 6 years from here, we should be able to expect something Zelda to drop in 2024, whether it be a port or a remaster or a collection of games. I do think that Nintendo will give us something Zelda in 2024, and it could even launch in the window of their next generation hardware. Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD ports that have been claimed from various different insiders to be done and just sitting there could be the perfect candidates for release in 2024. There are also some rumors circulating about an Ocarina of Time HD remake. That's entirely possible as well, although I'm less expecting that than something like Wind Waker or Twilight Princess, or they may pick another classic 2D Zelda game and just give it that Link's Awakening style treatment, maybe the Minish Cap, maybe Oracle of Ages and Seasons. But rest assured, Zelda fans, I think you will get something in the year of 2024 in terms of a new Nintendo game release. Now, I'm hopeful Nintendo shows a lot of love to their other IPs like F-Zero, Star Fox, and Kid Icarus. That's all wild card talk and speculation right now, but one thing that I do think is finally time to talk about is the Nintendo Switch 2, or the successor to the current Nintendo Switch family of systems we have today. I think we find out about whatever Nintendo's cooking up next in early 2024, and we will be able to order and play that console within that same year. I think no later than holiday season 2024, we finally have this thing playable. You can never say anything for certain with Nintendo, but this is already the longest console life cycle we have ever seen without at least knowing about what Nintendo is doing next with new hardware, and we are also starting to see the Nintendo Switch sales decline even in the holiday season, where they historically perform very well with all of the different bundle promotions and things. The reality is that the Switch has just hit a point of market saturation, and Nintendo will not want to wait for the sales to completely stop on the current console before producing the new one. So 2024, in my personal opinion, is the year that we do indeed see and are able to purchase that next gen piece of hardware. But I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video, your personal thoughts and opinions, and what you think we will see Nintendo do in 2024 as a whole. Do you think we get the next gen console and a ton of love from all of Nintendo's various different IP that they own? Do you think it will be a lighter year in gaming, and maybe we do still get that new console launch, but Nintendo doesn't have it front loaded with a bunch of games that are ready to go? And what games that I mentioned or didn't mention are you most hopeful to see released next year? So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch the video on screen next if you haven't already. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.